grateful you could come out. We have, and I'm pleased to have Elder Jeffrey R. Holland, a member of the Church's Quorum of the 12 Apostles, and Elder David F. Evans, who serves as executive in the Missionary Committee and is a member of the First Quorum of the 70. Elder Holland has some remarks he'd like to make about the situation in Japan, and then we'll have some time for a few questions and answers right after that. So, Elder Holland.
Thank you, Michael, and thanks to all of you, some of you coming on very short notice. We'd like this to be as informal as necessary, and we'd like to provide you what information we have as we deal with our friends and our members, our missionaries in Japan. You all know that we have substantial interest there. The whole world is concerned about this tragedy, the enormity of which seems to continue to grow and grow. So we thought we would share with you some things that we're doing, and then we'll take some questions following that. When this earthquake hit and the tsunami came, we would obviously have the standard concerns that we have for our missionaries, our members, expatriates, members of the church, and others that we have there. But of course, this it's been so extensive in terms of the degree of the earthquake, 9.0, and with the infrastructure being what it now is, at least in the Sendai part of Japan, with transportation so limited, food and power shortages, the other kinds of aftershock implications that we've had, and then I think no one counted on the radiation issue. That has been, whatever was a very, very serious matter, it's made it now an international incident and of great concern to all of us as we have these leaks or proposed leaks, considered leaks at 3 of those plants. We want to express our sympathy and support for all of the people of Japan. This is not just a concern for Latter-day Saints who are there. We have great concern for everyone, and our prayers are being offered for them, and substantial financial help has already been committed to the nation, to the people, regardless of their religious affiliation, including some directly to the Japanese Red Cross and other agencies. More will be forthcoming as needed and as documented and as requested. So we want you and we want the people in Japan to know that our concern is for everyone there. Now let me be a little more specific about those who may be anxious about their loved ones near here in Salt Lake City. All of our missionaries in those missions are accounted for. We have every missionary is safe and sound, and we're grateful for the long, hard work that it took to document that, people working through the day and through the night to make sure that they're accounted for. We have 638 missionaries total in Japan. About 216 of those are local Japanese missionaries. 340 or 50 are from the U.S. and 50 or so from other countries, but they're all accounted for and all safe. We have taken the precaution, given the radiation issue, we have taken the precaution of moving them out of the immediate area of concern in the Sendai and Tokyo missions. We are moving missionaries steadily as we can, transportation and infrastructure being what they are. No one's panicky. And we're doing this in a calm and reasonable and very optimistic way. But we're moving some missionaries to the north. We go to Hokkaido or places north. Others, where it's more convenient, will be moved to the south from probably Nagoya on south. And we will be able to accommodate those in the other missions and the other mission situations that we have there, including missionary apartments and so forth. We're doing this for a variety of reasons, obviously because the missionaries themselves we want to have out of harm's way, but it doesn't mean we're any less concerned about everyone else who's in that circumstance. But we don't want people worrying about the missionaries. All members are going to worry about the missionaries, and we don't want any local Japanese people worrying about the missionaries if we can worry about them. We want them to take care of themselves and their own families if they can. So we're reaching out to make sure that in no sense are the American missionaries in the area any kind of an added burden. And I want to clear that we're moving all missionaries of any nationality out of those immediate areas. We're also aware that there are scarce resources now. Food and water and fuel will all be concerned. And again, we don't want anyone overly anxious about the missionaries, so we want to relieve them about that kind of anxiety. We're moving them to very safe distances. Whatever the government is saying, we're doubling or tripling that distance. If they tell us to move the missionaries 30 kilometers, we're moving them 90. That's just a degree of safety. That's just a measure that we hope to take, wish to take, simply for safety's sake and a good margin of area. Now, for the members, we're doing everything that we know how to do for them. We're having an assessment of all branches and all wards in Japan, and we're happy to say that where, even with communication as limited as it is, we've been able to identify and document the safety of all members of the church, except the communication with one ward and 2 branches in the Sendai area. But given the membership of the church in Japan, which now numbers something like 125,000 members, we're grateful that we've been able to document down that closely and count for the safety of those members. We know of no loss of life of a member of the church yet. That doesn't mean that we won't learn that, but we don't know of any at this point, and we're very, very grateful for that. We're assessing ways to meet their needs. Housing needs, food needs, fuel and warmth and protection. We're dealing with all of that locally, and a lot of work here from headquarters. We're trying to keep them informed. Communication has its challenges, but we're trying to keep them informed about what's available, what can be done, the kind of, again, both local and international communication that we're trying to maintain with them regarding safety, regarding availability of resources, places to gather, places to use church buildings if they need to. All of that we're trying to make available to them. There are probably about 30 church buildings in the Sendai area that have been affected by the earthquake and the tsunami. That's not for the whole nation. It's just that northern part of Japan. And we have assessed visually, I'm sorry, I think I said 30. We have about 50 buildings. We've assessed each one of those visually, except one. There's only one we haven't been able to reach. So 49 of the 50, we've actually been able to be on site and visually inspect. Probably damage to half of those, but nothing overly serious, nothing overwhelmingly substantial. So those buildings could be available for people to gather in, to use as they might need to for protection and for safety, for some food distribution, and the other kinds of things that we use our buildings for. That's a visual review. That is certainly not a review by any structural engineers or the like, but it was an immediate effort to see what could be safe and available for people in that area. So we're trying to deal with the needs of everyone in Japan to the extent that we can. That is, our concern is great for everyone in Japan. We'll address the specifics of our own missionaries and members as best we can, but we continue to stress that our concern and our prayers, our anxiety and our hopes, our confidence is for all the people of Japan, whether they're Latter-day Saints or not, and we will continue to work with government agencies, Red Cross institutions, and others to make available any of the resources that we can and that we traditionally do from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Let me invite Elder David Evans to come to the podium. Elder Evans is not only an executive director of the missionary department, but he is also a former mission president and area president from Japan, having lived in the country. So I invite Elder Evans to come and join me on questions you might have, or geographies that is at stake, or future gestures we might be able to make in offering relief. If you have questions, please, Scott.
Elder Holland, does the situation with the nuclear plants present concerns that limit what would normally be standard humanitarian relief efforts the church would be doing already?
Well, I think it would limit it in this way, Scott, and that is that often our missionaries might be the hands-on delivery system for a lot of our relief efforts. You've seen that in the press before. When there's a natural catastrophe somewhere, the missionaries have often been the ones out there distributing the food and handing out the blankets. We won't be doing that with any missionary, in this case, till we have better information about the radiation issue. We'll also try to be as protective of any of the members as we can. The radiation is a whole new ingredient in what we deal with have often dealt with globally in disasters. But we're confident that the Lord's going to bless us in this, bless those people, and that we will find ways. We'll find ways to be helpful and to be reassuring. But it does introduce a very different element into any relief effort that we're trying to make.
Have they been close enough that you would have to test them for radiation exposure? Is it that level of concern?
I'll have Elder Evans respond, but let me just say the radiation information is very unclear and very unscientific at this point, and we don't believe that there's any reason to sense that radiation is that high. Someone said earlier that the danger of winds blowing to the United States might be as great as anything in the immediate area there. We're just trying to live and learn on the radiation, but we don't think that the radiation is that high to be that concerned at this point. Elder Evans, do we know more?
The only other thing that I would add is that all missionaries have been, for several days now, well outside of the areas that the government has indicated as being safe areas. We took the early step as soon as we knew that the reactors were having trouble, well before they began to spew the material into the atmosphere, to move missionaries a substantial distance. That happened for the missionaries that are on the Sendai mission. That happened for the missionaries that are in the Tokyo mission. These reactors are fairly close to the border of those two areas. And so all missionaries were moved substantially away. And we're very confident that there hasn't been any significant problem with regard to any of them. But we're moving them even farther now.
Are there any Utah missionaries there?
Pardon?
Are there any missionaries from Utah?
Yes, yes.
How many?
Total U.S. missionaries is a little over 300. State by state, I'm not sure that we have a count state by state.
We haven't yet broken it down state by state. We, I think, have 342 missionaries from the United States.
The important thing is we're dealing with all missionaries of any nationality and treating them the same and putting them out of harm's way, wherever they're from. Anything else? Can we, Carol?
Have you started to distribute any humanitarian kits or aid of any kind at this point to specific areas yet?
I don't know that we have actual distribution yet. We have had approvals given, significant amounts of money. The welfare people, of course, are in this. Humanitarian people are in this very immediately. But I think the confusion is still great enough that it would be unwise to be taking material in until we know how to deliver it, to whom do we deliver it, what are the distribution points. I think that all has to be worked out locally before we can do much from here.
And I might add that there is no train, road, air access to these areas of devastation from the tsunami at this point in time. And so even if we have something ready to go, we have no practical way, nor does anybody else outside of the Japanese government, to ship it in right now.
Has there been consideration to bring missionaries home?
That would be the last thing that we would do. That would be we'll always be safe, we'll always be careful, but that is not a consideration at this point. We are going to take them out of this immediate series of concentric circles in the Sendai area, but we've not discussed bringing missionaries home.
What about the missionaries that are in the MTC called to go to Japan?
We just discussed that, Elder Evans.
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll just hold them. We have, as you may know, from time to time, different countries that we have delay in getting into for one reason or another. And often that relates to visa or legal issues. In this case, it's just this whole national disaster that's going on. And so we'll hold them either in the MTC or distribute them temporarily to missionaries where they can be, to missions where they can be productive, pending a more long-term understanding of the capacity and the safety of receiving new missionaries there.
We do have enough capacity in the country and the other missions to absorb the missionaries we have in Sendai and Tokyo. They can be absorbed into apartments and teams of missionaries and with mission presence supervision. So thank heavens that is built into our own infrastructure, even though the national infrastructure is in some difficulty.
Anything the LDS Church can ask of their members or the public, can they be of service to you, to the missionaries in any way?
Well, what a terrific thing to ask, and we knew it would be asked. Thank you. At this point, we would just direct you to lds.org, and the newsroom page is the way we're going to track developments here, and we will post on our website that kind of information. How can help be given? our donations solicited, so on and so forth. But as Elder Evans said earlier, we're kind of trying to just position ourselves at this point to know how to help when we can help. So it's probably a little premature to deliver anything, but it's not premature for you to ask such a kind question, and we'll have more to say about how donations might be given or what the international response might need to be, including ours.
Is it reasonable that you'd be assembling a team to go over there at this point?
One representative from the welfare department is being dispatched as we speak, and of course we have a whole team on site. We have a whole organizational team already there. I cannot say enough. I can't say enough about leaders who have worked through the day and through the night, and now going on several days and several nights without sleep to care for the people locally. That includes our area presidency, it includes our director of temporal affairs, it includes our humanitarian people, it includes all the mission presidents, and most of the missionaries themselves. So a remarkable, humane Christian response has already been made, and a lot of that is already on site. But a shorter answer to your question would be that some have been dispatched, and as needed, others will be. We've got a great team already at work over there.
Can you just give the overall response of the LDS Church? And you said earlier this isn't fearful, no one's frantic, moving the missionaries. Can you give us just the feeling that you're all having?
Our feeling is of great sympathy and concern and a great expression of support, but we are not panicky, we are not fearful. The world and members of the church have been through difficulties before. They're getting quite frequent, as you know, in covering them in the press, but we have an earthquake here and a tsunami there, and we'll just do the best we can. But there is a great degree of confidence and of support, of gratitude for the good response of people who care and will help, have helped and will help. And ultimately, we're so totally grateful for and dependent on the blessings of the Lord, and we would ask everyone's prayers as much as financial contribution. We need the faith and support and prayerful interest of people all over the globe, and we can offer that, and you can offer that, and concerned people everywhere can offer that. We're confident, we're concerned, but confident.
Can you give us any idea of what these missionaries may have been through? I mean, are you hearing stories of heroics or stories of surviving buildings that were in jeopardy of falling? Or, I mean, are there some pretty great...
I don't think we have that kind of communication yet, but I'll let Elder Evans speak as a former mission president about the courage and integrity of these remarkable 19 and 20 and 21-year-old young people who live this way all over the globe.
Yeah.
David?
We don't have the specific stories at this point in time. What was particularly tender for us was as we watched after the initial quake and tsunami came, by that first night on Friday night, we only had a certain number that we could account for. And then by late Friday night at midnight, or 1 o'clock our time, we had quite a lot larger number as missionaries made their way to evacuation centers. The remarkable thing is that the system worked. They had communication lines set up with their mission president. They had ways to get to the evacuation center. It wasn't, however, until our time, Saturday morning, about 3 o'clock in the morning, that the last 2 missionaries found their way to an evacuation center. And all I can tell you is there was great joy, both in the leaders in Japan and the leaders here, as we were finally able to report that every missionary is safe and accounted for. Many of them have been wearing the same clothing on their backs as all that they've had since the events occurred in Japan time last Friday until now. But they are safe, they are accounted for. The ones that are in the most devastated areas have been or are being moved, and we found ways to do that. And we will yet, I think, in the history of the church, hear some of these remarkable stories that you're referring to. But undoubtedly, there's been great courage and great faith, and in some cases, some deprivation, but everybody's okay, and that's what we're grateful for.
I can tell you right now that one of the responses will be from the missionary missionaries of the Sendai area is that they will not want to leave. That they will be determined, if we would allow it, which we won't, but they would be determined to stay and stand by the people that they love, the people of their branches, the people of their wards. And that's what's cultivated in these remarkable young men and women with the service that they give. They are so devoted and so loyal. And they will be loath to leave and will be very anxious to get back whenever that green light is given. Please.
Just for purposes of my clarity, I apologize. Did you say all missionaries in the Tokyo and Sendai missions will be moved? Or just
That's our discussion at this time. Don't hold us too tightly to how that border is drawn, because it might go either side of those borders, but that's roughly the group we're talking about now. Sendai North and Tokyo South.
Do you have a number of total missionaries who would be impacted by that?
Yeah, I think that it would be about 190 or 200 missionaries, something in that range. Again, I'm not exactly sure of the count in the Tokyo mission right now, but I think that's the general number, the 72 plus about 120-ish in the Tokyo mission.
It'll depend on drawing those borders, and it will also be with this generous margin of error. If we're in doubt, we're going to fudge on the outer margin, so it'll be more than less if there's any question that'll be moved. Anything else, please?
Yeah, much of the welfare of the local members in Japan is probably falling on bishops, branch presidents, visiting presidents. Can you talk about how the welfare system, the established welfare principles of the church are working in those local communities?
The miracle is that they always work. The miracle is that they work beautifully. We've got bishops who've lost their own homes, who are out there trying to find members to help. We've got Relief Society presidents who lost their own homes, and they're out there trying to find the sisters and the families and the children. So the principles at work and the people are magnificent. Communication is such that we can't give you a lot of detail about how that's working, but they understand the program and we understand the program, and those principles tie us. And so we're going to be able to, when it's time to deliver, we can deliver. When the needs are documented, as we do document them within the church circle, we'll be able to get food where food needs to be provided and fuel where fuel needs to be given. But it's still so very early that communication itself is just as big a problem as anything. That's perhaps among the most serious challenges that we face, are just getting in touch with those bishops and Relief Society presidents. That's probably as much as we need to say. Let me just thank you for gathering, and let me say again that these are solemn times, they're sober times for the whole world. The whole world watches these moments, as we watched in Chile, as we watched in New Zealand, as we watched in Haiti, as we've become to watch many places. It's a time for us all to reflect on the blessings we do have, on the disasters that don't happen, on the goodness of God and the goodness of a lot of good people when there is difficulty, for us to respond and to be faithful, to be hopeful, and for everybody to renew and reoffer our prayers with both urgency and gratitude. And we leave that prayer with you. Thank you.